Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. So we've already created our splash screen and our login screen. So let's go ahead and make our register screen. It's just as simple. So just copy paste login screen, rename it to register screen, and let's do a few touch ups. So let's rename to do app to register, like that. Go ahead and ungroup this real quick. Just center it all. What we should really do is change this to center and actually change the main component to center, so every time we do rename it, we don't have to recenter it again. This should be centered. Yep, good. This one should also, yep, good. Alright, now that we got our register, so we can rename this from login to register. Now that might seem a little confusing, but register meaning, we're happy and we're going to make that count. Well, I guess we could in theory call it create account, whatever you'd like. I'm just going to call it register, and then we can rename the bottom register to back, so that'll take us back to the login screen. Just regroup all of that. Cool, that's our register screen. So that was very simple because it's just copy paste of the login screen. So now we're going to create our home screen. So let's go ahead and copy the splash screen here, and let's bring it down here. Actually, in theory, we can just keep it here, that's fine. And so here, let's rename it to home screen. So this screen will be what we see when we log in. So as soon as we press register or login, so login or register, it'll take us into the home screen. So what I envision is we'll have a banner here, like that. Let's make that full width of the screen itself, and let's give it a height of about 60, so it's not this is differentiated from the button and the input, because our input is 40, our button is 50, our header will be 60. Let's keep it the same color, so our primary color, and let's give it a slight shadow. Yep, and let's get rid of that border it has. There we go. And let's bring in some header text. So in this case, I'll call it my to-dos. You can rename this to anything like home, etc. And let's center that within the shape. And let's also make this, yep, center text, which already is great. So we've got my to-dos. Now what we'll do is we'll create the look and feel of the actual to-do item. Let's just quickly group these two up, turn it into a component, and let's go ahead and delete that one. Bring this one, or before we delete it, let's just rename this to header, so we know what kind of component this is. Delete that one, bring it back in, and my to-dos. Now let's create our actual to-do item. So if we grab a rectangle, and we're going to also make this, so to begin we'll make it the full width of the screen. Going to give it a height of 70, so now it's 10 up from the header, so we know it's not the same component, so users don't get confused. Let's make this 340 in width. Reason for that is 20 padding from each, so this technically will resize depending on the screen size, but it's going to always maintain a padding of 20 from the left and the right. So let's also give it a border radius. 20. Let's get rid of the border and give it a shadow like we normally do with our components, keeping consistency. And let's bring in some text. So say let's bring in some lorem text. Let's change the color to our 7070. Let's make it regular and resize to about 12. Let's do about 14. Yeah. And let's get all the way to the left of that shape we just made. Let's bring it in by about 20. Looks good. Okay. And what we'll need is, let's see if we've got it here. Nope. Alright, so what we need is our delete icon, which you've got here. I'll provide it in the asset folder for you guys, so all you need to do is just drag and drop into here like we did with the icon. And let's get that centered like that. So make sure it's 20. Yep, there we go. So that would be our to-do item. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Actually, let's do about 15. I think it's fine. And just make sure it's 20 from the left. Let's group this up into a component. Go ahead and delete that one. Bring it back in. Let's center that. And let's do the height about 30 from the top of the header. And let's also bring in a logout button. So in our case, let's double click into this. So then what we can do is we can drag and drop a logo. So this will also be an asset folder, so you can just drag and drop the logout icon. And then once you get it, once you drop it in, just change the color to white, our FF, and give it a shadow. So if you go into it, double click the left arrow, you can select a shadow like that, and then double click this kind of circle and select the shadow as well. Same with this. The color for this delete button is BE0000. We can go ahead and add that here. It doesn't have a border. Let's go delete black from there. Cool. And let's go ahead and use our repeat grid to bring in a few more of these. And let's say, and give it a gap of 0. Yeah, because it's already fairly well gapped. That's fine. And what I like to do is I like to ungroup it from the grid. Now we've got that. Let's create kind of shape to put these items in so it can scroll nicely. So let's just bring this in here like so. Well, actually, before we do that, we're gonna have a button here. So once we click it, we can add it to do. So let's go ahead and bring in a button and bring that to the bottom. Well, before we do that, let's give it the same width as the list item, so to-do item. Let's bring it to the bottom and bring it up by about 50. So let's say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And then our square that we're going to bring in here so that our components can scroll nicely. Let's go ahead and bring it down to the button and then remove the height by about 30. I think it's fairly good. And let's remove the width by about 40, so then it's got a padding of 20 from left and right. Let's actually also bring it down by 30, and let's center this. So centered there like that. let's make sure it's the same width as the list item components. Well, what we can actually do is just shift it to all the way to the right anyways, keep it the max width, which is fine. And let's go ahead and real quick arrange and send backward. And actually, instead of doing that, we can go to the layers section and just bring it down here. So now it's behind our components here. Let's go ahead and delete these ones we grouped in. Let's copy this one and just move it up there for now. And keep the border for now. Click vertical scroll. And once we're in here, let's specify the actual height of the vertical scroll. So we're just going to do the full height. And double click and Control V. That's good. And let's put this to about the very top. Yep. And what we can also do is go ahead and double click this repeat grid. Let's just get a bunch of these all the way down like that, and then you can just ungroup the grid. Now, assuming we did it correctly, should be able to, what we can do is double select the rectangle, remove the border. Yep, that looks good. And let's remove the fill as well. There we go. And you know what, before we actually ungroup the grid, we're supposed to specify the gap. So let's actually do that real quick. So put the gap to 0. So if you already ungrouped it, just do Control Z until you get back to the grouping. Yep, and then just ungroup it from the grid if you want. That's what I like to do. You don't have to. And let's get rid of the fill and the border for that rectangle that we put in the background. Let's delete this top one. Okay, cool. That's looking a bit better. Now, it's kind of like cropped this one a little bit, which is fine. But what we can do is just bring this down, maybe bring the button down by about 10. So it looks, when the app initially loads, it looks quite nice, like that. So if we click play, so select the screen and click play, bring it up, and we can kind of see how the scroll feature will work. It's quite good. Right. Got that out of the way. In the next video, we'll create screen and then kind of connect it all together.